All right, click the link to join the channel here over at SubScribe. So South Park mocks the vice president, Kristi Noem, and fans are losing it. Here's the thing: South Park seems to think it's 2016. It's like there was a time warp or something. It's like 2016 was more than just that time period ago, because as history goes on, it feels like things accelerate. The Art Bell, the Quickening, or something. There's a lot that has been packed in to the each and every year. And I don't care if people go after Trump, because he's an elected public figure. He's going to be the president of the United States is going to be the one to get the most kind of parody. And I'm not defending him with this video. I'm not a Trump fan or anything. I'm criticizing the episode because it's not funny at all, because the humor has to be attached to a kernel of truth. And also because in the history of South Park, which has been on for 27 years, I know it's just a stupid show, but it's something. It's like a 27-year show goes through a lot of presidents, because it starts with under Clinton, and you kind of see the evolution of how the show handled things. So it's the first hard point on a timeline where South Park has stopped being what they were, because they used to go after both sides, which, as Rachel Leishman was very upset about. That's why she wanted to cancel South Park, because she says there are only two sides of the story. So I'm sure she's happy with this new direction. So this is a hard departure from that philosophy, because now they've just become a biased show that they probably would have parodied years ago. It's firmly in the left-wing echo chamber. And I was asking myself, well, would I watch a show that was so far has done 2 episodes that was just making fun of the left? And I would, but for like 1 or 2 episodes, and then after that, it would probably just get too much of an echo chamber. So I went sailing the high seas the other night to watch season 27, episode 2. Mackie Gets a Nut, and it was the worst episode I can remember. It was an episode where nothing was funny, and it felt like Parker and Stone thinks it's 2016, when that would have been the logical time to go hard after Trump. That was when it would have been fresh, and they didn't expect him to get elected, so they had to go with Mr. Garrison, and they thought Hillary was going to get elected. They probably would have parodied her, but like, you had Mr. Garrison parodying Trump, people were fine with it. But consider the energy here. The left lost their freaking minds in 2016, and in some cases, I think some people actually did develop like mental illness, like an actual Trump derangement syndrome. But in 2020, or 24, he got elected again. And in 2020, he calmly stepped down from office, just like dictators are known to do. And people now do not have the same obsession. It's been a few years. You got to experience it. He didn't open a portal to hell or anything. He just wasn't that weird of a president, or at least not that unusual. Things have cooled off, and people realize what helped cool it off is you had 4 years of Biden and Kamala, and they were absolutely horrible. And Mayorkas and Garland, and the Ministry of Truth with Nina Jankowicz. It sounds crazy to say that out loud, like, oh, our government actually tried to do that. So portraying Trump as Saddam Hussein doesn't make sense. I mean, this is like, goes way back to 2001 when they did the South Park movie. Trump got elected twice, maybe 3 times, actually. So all this kind of energy is like a decade too late. And then they made fun of Charlie Kirk, who is just not doing anything unusual enough to be made fun of. He's just another kind of Christian, I don't know, conservative type of political analyst, social media guy. I don't know if he works for like a Daily Wire type of thing, but he's a name, but he's just nothing out of the ordinary, nothing to deserve being made fun of. Well, I mean, there's some, but there's things to make fun of, but South Park is not going to be that politically incorrect. So one of the themes is about podcasters, and that they're just the same anti-SJWs that have been around for a decade now. And the peak of that was probably YouTube 2015 energy, 2016, when SJWs were just absurd. And then there was a ton of anti-SJW channels that would... There was a whole energy behind it. It was a lot of fun when you could make fun of SJWs. But then Google saw that Trump got elected, a president that was memed into office. And so they realized that anti-SJW channels were helping to change the narrative. So in case you haven't noticed, almost all those channels are gone now. They made some rules about reuse content, but the reality was they didn't want Trump getting elected again, and they were going to manipulate Google and YouTube to make sure that didn't happen, and which is where you ended up with Biden. And one of the things they said about podcasters, like they just try to be as offensive as possible, and they get online and they ask what a woman is, which oddly enough in the show they never answered, which it would have been their opportunity to sort of present both sides of the SJW debate. And keep in mind, they were the ones who predicted men and women's sports with I don't want to say Roddy Piper. Who was that other guy? It wasn't not the Ultimate Warrior. The the guy was the Snap into a Slim Jim character. I forget the dude's name. Anyway, so then they had Kristi Noem, but the thing about killing dogs issue is like almost a year old. It is, I guess, 7 months old. It's too late to bring it up. Then the element also doesn't work because people really love pets. It would have been funnier if Kristi was aiming at every little dog she saw, but she missed the beloved dogs and she hit the Mexicans instead. People are fine with that because it's so absurd that it's actually funny. Oh no, it was shot right in the taco. Back to Mexico, Picante Pants. If you remember Jennifer Lopez, like those episodes, like I remember the older stuff more than the recent stuff. People actually like dogs, and nobody thinks it's funny to hurt animals. Hurting humans is usually just fine with people because it's like it's just not really believable. Then having the theme about her having so much surgery and Botox, that was a Michael Jackson episode ripoff from like probably 20 years ago, and it doesn't work. Well, I mean, back when he was alive, because she looks perfectly normal. Making fun of her dressing up and going on ice raids as a 53-year-old grandma toting around an AR. Okay, that's you can make fun of that, where she's like posing for pictures. Nancy Mace also does that. I mean, she's always out there showing off the goods because it's so stupid of her to do that kind of posturing. Her and Magic the Gathering, Margie Taylor Greene also do that kind of, you know. But remember Chuck Schumer with his cheese on the raw hamburger for like 4th of July or something? He was posing for a picture that someone else had set up, and like he probably never barbecued before, he didn't know. Or Elizabeth Warren pretending to be a human and drink a beer and like offer her husband a beer. That whole thing just felt so it just felt like, you know, robots trying to put on their human masks to get elected. And here's the thing with the whole Epstein energy. The Mar-a-Lago thing, they had Dora the Explorer get deported, but instead of deporting her, they were implying that she was trafficked to Trump's version of Epstein Island, Mar-a-Lago in Florida, which doesn't make sense because Epstein Island was Epstein's island off the coast of Florida. And it's really mean-spirited to accuse somebody of Epstein behavior when Epstein was the one who was arrested and did time in prison a couple times for that kind of stuff. And the thing is, it's just not how the Epstein situation went down. Trump and Mar-a-Lago weren't involved. And if Trump was dirty, the information would have come out already over the past 8 years. That joke only really works if they had Trump protecting other politicians. That would have worked. You can have them on the left and the right if you want to be fair. And like the punchline could have been, "Oh, there's so many corrupt politicians and they're all diddling kids," and it would have brought down the country or something. So the thing with the episode was it was just too heavy-handed, but it didn't hit hard because when they went after right-wing podcasters, well, the left wing has their own, you know, coked up destiny types who are just babbling about whatever nonsense. It's their own version of clickbait. So even deporting the Browns doesn't make sense as an element in the they're going to heaven and deporting the Mexicans who are just totally nice to everybody, because Trump has completely failed on that. There are no mass deportations, and you know, to on that, there's no Fort Knox audit, which he had mentioned. I don't know what happened to that, or bringing manufacturing back to America. That was an issue that just was raised and dropped. Or a border wall, which had been promised for 2 elections, and also said something about no new foreign conflict. Instead, he had bombed a foreign country on behalf of Israel, and now there are laws against criticism of Israel. and more of your taxes to go fund them and not American projects. He even went so far as to deport students, I guess, who protested. Now that's absolutely fine, but they should have to deport them for criticizing Israel. It should never even got to that point because they should have been deported on day one. Then they had Cartman and Clyde as their right-wing offensive shock jock type of podcasters. I was speaking of that Howard Stern and his was XM radio thing finally came to an end. I guess people aren't listening to satellite radio as much. And the shtick was that they said offensive things and they got paid for it. But the question is, well, are the offensive things true or not? And all this feels like it would make sense in 2015 when the big SJW slash anti-SJW push was going on, when YouTube kicked everyone off. It was sort of a weird vibe for South Park to be against free speech. That's what it felt like. Cartman pointed out that a pregnancy is two living humans, and the show didn't counter that idea. So how is that offensive if it's true? They seem to say, and that would have been an opportunity to poke fun at the left wing as well, but they didn't take any opportunity to do that. And they also seem to say that small podcasts were just grifters and outrage farmers. But one, there are legitimate concerns that the right wing is outraged about. In case you haven't noticed, times are not looking too good, not just for America, but for the West in general. It's looking like something as big is on the horizon. And if you think that podcasts are biased, take a look at the mainstream media for the past 50 years. A podcast is the problem, but not CNN, globalist trillion-dollar media machine with billions of dollars of propaganda. Small podcasts are started with a cell phone and they run off donations. If they can make money, then they're putting out a narrative that people want to hear. And I would think that Parker and Stone would support that. We're not billionaires living in mansions and gated communities. The whole episode felt elitist. I would have assumed that they would be supportive of a small, self-funded, edgy podcasts. Perhaps I can direct them to how their own show got started. I think the first episode was Jesus Christ fighting Santa Claus. And then they had a superhero or super friends, and it was all the deities and prophets from around the world. So then they were implying that the right-wing podcasts were going after women or liberal women and Jews. It's like, oh, okay, fine, they deserve it. But none of that is relevant now. The online culture war has been around for decades. The Israel thing is more recent, but it's the left wing protesting about that. That's not all the college campus stuff. That's not the right wing. The Charlie Kirk right wing would oil up their asshole for Netanyahu. So none of these jokes are timely when they're like a decade old, or they're focused on the wrong side. Or in the first episode, they're saying there's some resurgence of Christian nationalism. And I look around, I'm like, what are you talking about? And obviously, you have the golden goose with Biden and Kamala. You had 4 years to go after them, but they skipped it, which is fine. You don't want to get involved in politics. That's okay. But then when you jump back into going after Trump, it just shows your bias. And it felt like they're kind of stuck in 2016. And people are really eager to get away from 2016. Not because they didn't like Trump or not, but it's like just that was a very heavy 4-year period, 2016 to 2020, maybe 21 with the riots. But people are watching the show. The left is watching it because it's confirmation bias, and everyone likes to have a little bit of an echo chamber. And the right's watching it to see how heavy-handed it is. And the show got $1.5 billion from Paramount. So nothing really matters after that. That's such a stupendous amount of money for a show that probably doesn't cost very much to put on. But it's not South Park anymore because you've had 2 episodes of that just woke propaganda where they're not attempting to do anything against the left. Trump just isn't the dictator that they say he is, which is a problem because it felt like he was kind of the last chance to turn things around. And there's another issue of, I don't know if this is projection, but all this left and right fighting is really old. And like, we don't want to go through I don't think people want to keep going through this. Where things are accelerating, and I can look at it and go, maybe it would just be better to separate the country instead of continuing this kind of path where people have what feels like irreconcilable differences. Anyway, I will be watching South Park to check up on it. And I hope in the future episodes they do something like they can't just keep doing like a whole year just making fun of Trump and the right. I think even their fan base would probably get tired of that. But if the numbers go down, they still got that $1.5 billion for Paramount. Anyway, like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys on the next episode.